Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of Éxito Conversations, where we highlight the people, the partnerships, and the programs creating more pathways to homeownership and stronger communities. I am Laura Aguiar Diaz, and this episode comes at a really meaningful time. For so many families, homeownership remains one of its most enduring chapters. It represents opportunity, stability, and the chance to build a legacy for future generations. That's why I am especially excited to be joined today by Sherri and Rick from Stand. Through their work, they're helping remove barriers, empower families, and very much create opportunities that extend far beyond housing. Today, we're going to talk about some of the impact that, some of the things that they're doing with Stand, the impact that they have in communities, why community partnerships matter, and how we can play a role in helping what they're doing. So, thank you both for joining me today. I appreciate
Thank you for having us.
Of course. So first and foremost, who are you? What do you do? Tell me all about it. Give me an intro.
Yep. Rick and Sherri Rangel, we have been married for 18 plus years.
28.
28. Oh my gosh, I did mess that up. We have our branches in downtown Wichita, and we're launching a satellite office in Guyman, Oklahoma. We met while I was in the Army. Sherri had already got out. Fort Lewis, Washington is where we met at. From Fort Lewis, got married, traveled to Hawaii. Hawaii took us to Oklahoma. Oklahoma at Fort Sill took us to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where I had the pleasure and honor of jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. And for those that are in the Air Force, they are not perfectly good airplanes. And from North Carolina, I got the opportunity to go to Alaska and jump in the snow. So I had fun as a paratrooper in Alaska. And then at the very end, I was selected for a unit called the Warrior Transition Unit as cadre to help soldiers transition from military life to civilian. For those, or a few of them were actually able to be rehabilitated and go back into civilian service or military service, not civilian. So I had a lot of fun. Sherri followed me along through all those places. And when we decided to retire, Wichita was my hometown, and we looked at cost of living, raising our son Zachary, and my daughter was already there, so that kind of helped too. So just kind of made it nice to all be there in one town.
Fantastic. Wow. And Sherri, I don't know if you want to give me your story.
So I took a part-time job in Alaska working for Wells Fargo during the 2008 crash. Had no real idea what mortgages were at that time. It was just a job until Rick got home from deployment, and ended up really enjoying what I was doing. And I got to see what the banks did wrong and what the people did wrong, and kind of how it all came to be at that point of 2008. And Rick at that time met a loan officer that worked at Wells Fargo, which, by the way, he has transitioned since then and works for Guild Mortgage up in Alaska. So I love it. But we were able to decide that this is really a career path we wanted to be on. And then Rick left and decided he wanted to be a social worker instead when we got to Wichita. So I continued down the mortgage path. And about 4 years ago, I asked him to join me because I had built my business up enough. I needed help sharing my name in the town. And who else to share it with me is the man that gave me the name. So he came on. And about 8 months ago, we brought our son Zachary on, and we're really into building a multicultural name for ourselves in our community. We want to be that melting pot. Being in the center of the United States, we need everybody to come together, and that's what we're trying to do in Wichita.
That is fantastic. Well, Rick, I hope you're done jumping out of stuff or jumping into things. Hope we're taking a break. But wow, that's amazing. Okay.
Well, we're jumping into more satellite offices. I'd like to grow the team and stuff like that. So there are some of those jumps.
That's fine. We'll allow that.
Business
That'll
jump.
be okay. Yeah,
Yes.
that's fine. All right. Well, so for those who may not be familiar with Stand, can you give me a bit of a breakdown of what Stand is and why it's important?
Yeah. So the nice thing about Stand is it's designed for those that, not just loan officers, but for all employees of Guild that have a connection to the veteran community, whether they served themselves, their dad served, their mom served, or their spouse, or they just have it in their heart that they want to support veterans in the community that they're in. And so that's kind of where Stand is. We are the original BRG, so we were the guinea pigs and made a lot of mistakes along the way. But we keep growing and we've learned a lot. And so that's the cool part about Stand is we have so many people that want to support our veteran community.
Sherri, what about you? What role do you play in all of this, in Stand and beyond?
So in Stand, I do take a secondary role to Rick, just because he is the veteran. And I feel like even though I was in the military, he did the full 21 years. And I feel like there's just that level of he's the leader. He knows what he's talking about a little bit more. And so what my role really is just in our branch, I really built, before he came along, a very strong connection to the veteran community that he has helped even grow more. And so we get some of those nonprofits in our community that we never hear from until a veteran says, I'm having problems with my mortgage. I need a mortgage. I need something tied to my house. And then we'll get that phone call. Hey, you guys are the experts here in town. I have, Mr. Smith that needs a phone call. And they know that they can reach out to us and that we're going to help that veteran. And I did a part of this Nation of Patriots. I had a veteran come to me and say his AC went out during 4th of July. It's hot, and he had just gotten out of the hospital from having back surgery. And I was able to get with Nation of Patriots, and within 4 or 5 days, we had a check cut to him for a brand new HVAC system. They overcut the check because the company gave us a discount, and he was able to keep that extra to help go ahead and knock that temperature way down for him for a few weeks and have it a little extra to pay that bill. And so
Incredible.
that's where, knowing Guild helps me on the mortgage side, lets me know that I can help those in my community on the other side.
That's fantastic. Oh, well, wow. What a relief. I mean, what a huge help. That just, not even just the heat, but having that support system. Well, this leads me to my next question for you then. A lot of people talk about supporting our veterans and doing what we can for them, but what does that look like in practice, supporting our veterans? How do you see that being done well?
Education. It's purely education. I can't make you do anything. I can't do it for you, but I can surely make sure myself and the team that we are educating you and telling you all your options and not just looking at you as another closed loan, another money I made to put into my pocket. We're here to educate you. And that's our focus and the best thing we can give them.
And that's one of the things is the nonprofits will actually reach out to us to be like, hey, can you come in and present? And so, because they know we're not there to sell ourselves or we're not marketing, but they know we'll come in and educate. So we've been invited as a for-profit business to some of those speaking engagements that are typically limited to nonprofits only, just because they know we're going to speak on the education portion.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So you get access to things that normally you wouldn't have access to because of all the good that you're doing and how you're educating and going into these communities.
Correct.
Fantastic. Well, what are some, misconceptions that people might have about veterans transitioning into civilian life or purchasing a home? I know that, people, or at least in this business, in this industry, people may look at veterans a certain way, maybe with hesitation when it comes to getting a mortgage and things like that. What are some misconceptions there?
The one I'd really like to bring up is if you don't have somebody who's mortgage background, then you only know what the guidelines to do a mortgage loan is. And there's many programs out there like SkillBridge that allows us to use income that that veteran has not quite began receiving, but we're able to find ways to use that. And Guild Mortgage is actually part of that SkillBridge program. So again, another plug for Guild on why we're here as veterans. But if you don't know what SkillBridge is, and many people don't because they don't need it in their life, they wouldn't know as a loan officer how to help those veterans find those unique ways to show additional income as they're transitioning from active duty to civilian life.
Yep. So right now I have a realtor that reached out last week and like, hey, my deal's falling apart. The online lender that the client was using didn't realize he was ETSing or retiring and he doesn't have income. Like, what do you mean they didn't realize? He's like, well, they were predicting it on his income in the military and he's retiring in 9 months. So he doesn't have not
3 years of it.
3 years of future income. And I was like, well, that should have been one of the first questions out of the loan officer. Like, Well, yes, but we messed up. We accepted it, and now we're under contract. And it's like, okay, these are what you need to work on, this the steps. And they're like, okay, thank you. And so it's because we knew the guidelines of what they need to get.
And so again, that's where the education people know that we're the educators, because we weren't saying, well, we're not going to tell you the answer unless you bring that loan to me. Our goal is to get that veteran into the house. And so we gave them the information that they needed to get that loan closed with that online lender and not with us.
Not only do you speak the language, but you have the knowledge to back that up, and you can come at them from a place of understanding and relatability.
Right. We all feel more comfortable talking to somebody who speaks the same language, and a veteran's always going to feel more comfortable with one of their brothers or sisters than they are somebody who's an outsider. Absolutely.
All right. So how does homeownership play an important role in creating stability in these veterans' lives? Some of them are just coming off, active duty, or maybe, they've been out of it for a while now, but where does homeownership come into it?
Yeah, being able to establish the roots in their community. That's one of the big ways. Is every 3 years we moved for us, so we never had roots until we retired. And so us buying wasn't our first home in Kansas. It was our first home in Kansas, but that was our third purchase or fourth purchase. We were able to establish our roots and knew we were planted in our community. And so being able to help those that are got out transition and be like, hey, this is now your home. Let's help you establish your roots.
That's what the veterans are used to when they live on base, is they immediately are accepted into the community because it's like-minded people. We all do the same things. Well, when we go buy a house in a town or a city, we don't have that immediate. But once I become a homeowner, then I am part of that, kind of that quiet, I'm a part of this community now. And that really helps them get a feel for some of what they're used to from personal lives of the past, and being able to go forward in the future with my new community, my new family that I live next to.
And have that stability.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it helps that you're a local lender, so you're part of that community as well. So you're just another piece of that puzzle for them. Now you mentioned it before, but I'd love to touch a little bit more on it. Both of you involved with organizations outside of STAND, outside of Guild. Can you tell me a little bit about why they're important to you?
So every dollar that we help raise in Wichita stays for the veterans in Wichita. And so I'm not, even though we're nationwide, we're not giving to other states. I'm taking care of my own, keeping my community
Kansas
healthy.
For Kansas, Oklahoma
so
Oklahoma.
That was one of the things that really gravitated us to Nation of Patriots and taking care of our own.
The big fundraiser is transporting the U.S. flag through all 50 states. Most of the time, it's on the back of a motorcycle. However, you can't take a motorcycle to Hawaii. You can to Alaska through Canada. But the chapter out of Las Vegas worked with the Air Force in Hawaii and Alaska. And so we get the flag to Hawaii and Alaska through the Las Vegas chapter. And so that's how it gets to all 50 states. So that is the national fundraiser, is transporting the U.S. flag through all 50 states.
That's so sick. That's awesome. I know there's probably a million stories, but just maybe one or two that really come into mind. Have there been any moments or stories from working with veterans that have kind of stayed with you over the years? Maybe it's a first-time homeowner, or maybe it's a family, whatever that might be. Is there a story that's kind of just like in your head?
So the veteran that sticks out to me was a officer that was retiring out after 30 years of service. She had retirement pay we knew of. We knew she was going to get disability, but we didn't know what that amount was. But we also had the skill bridge offer letter she had from Bombardier bringing her to Wichita. And so we were able to use her retirement and her skill bridge income to help her establish her home and roots for her and her family. And so it was just neat to be able to see this family transition out of the military, have their house right there. And the kids and her husband moved in early so they could be there for the beginning of the school year. So to me, that was really cool to have that. So they didn't have to move 2 months after the school year started. They could move before the school year started.
Yep. So the one that is not guild or mortgage related that Nation of Patriots really warms my heart is we had a veteran who was getting a service dog. So they bought this dog as a puppy, and they were getting ready to start the training and start the dog on all of its skill sets that it needed to learn. And they found out the dog had parvo. And parvo is a very horrible disease, and it costs a lot of money and takes at least a year of shots, around the clock shots and things like that. And it just becomes outrageously expensive. And they'd already fallen in love with this dog. They were already, our, veteran who had PTSD had already started that attachment. And so as Nation of Patriots, we were able to come in and pay for a full year, got that dog back to health, took care of all of the veterinarian bills, and he was able to keep his dog, and now his dog's his right hand. So those are the reasons why we do what we do. Every Sunday we volunteer at a bingo hall. And I'll tell you, some of those women are not the very nicest bingo women I've ever seen, but we do it because that money goes straight back again into our community. And those are the funds that we're using to pay for things like that. So we give up Sunday nights, football nights, soccer nights, to make sure that we're helping our community and helping the veterans in it.
I mean, other than the mean bingo women, that's
Ooh,
fantastic.
don't mess with bingo ladies, let me tell you.
No, they're an angry bunch.
They are.
They don't play around. Oh man. Well, thank you guys for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that you also mentioned the melting pot. I want to dig a little deeper about your branch and your commitment to building a team that really reflects the communities that are in it. Why is diversity, specifically in mortgage lending, so important to you guys?
I need to have that melting pot to teach me what I don't know, because you can become very rigid in your thought process if you're not hearing the thoughts of others, right, in your community. And so this allows us to try to build this brand for our branch that allows everybody to feel comfortable. We all want to talk to those that think like us, look like us, and act like us. And if you only have one type of person in your branch, then you're only attracting one type of person. And we want a branch that people can walk into, come into, feel at home. And it doesn't matter, if you're part of the Latino community or if you're African American, what is it? LGBTQ. We want all of those to be in our house and be able to be educated. They all need to have somewhere to go to ask those questions.
I agree. People do feel most comfortable working with someone who understands their culture, their language, their life experiences. So now, how are you going out there and working to build that diverse team?
So we have a total of 4 loan officers, well, 5, counting Sherri as the branch manager. And so myself and Frank Herrera are both actually I'm retired already. Frank will be retiring next year. And so all 3 of us are loan officers or veterans. Then we have the next loan officer, Diana Cortina. She is Mexican, Spaniard, and England.
Mm-hmm. And English.
So she's multicultural, and she has 3 passports.
She's actually
3 citizenships.
She's got 3 citizenships for Spain, for Mexico, and the United States.
Yep.
And then we're actually down in Guyman, Oklahoma, opening this satellite branch with a bilingual Hispanic lady who is bringing her daughter on as her loan assistant, who is also bilingual.
Right. Okay. So let's bring it back home. Let's bring it back to Guild here. How has Guild supported both of you in pursuing these passions? You've got the stand, you've got community involvement, and also building an inclusive workspace. How has Guild really helped support this dream?
San Diego. The opportunity to come and support stand at headquarters was a blast.
So what they did in San Diego is they brought in the veteran piece and they allowed us to have Nation of Patriots had a branch, from the San Diego area. So they set up a table, and there were other veteran-based nonprofits that were brought into corporate office. And then the staff that works at the corporate office was able to come down and have lunch, and lunch was served by Terry and David, and then a few more of the leadership. And so they were able to be serving the team while they learned about the different nonprofits within the San Diego community. And so Rick and I were able to fly out there and really support that. And anybody could fly out there that wanted to bring in their nonprofit to support. And so that's what Guild's about. Guild is out there supporting the veteran community, helping us build the name and why they should come to Guild when you need a VA loan.
I love the
They've
dedication.
picked up the phone and called VA themselves. You know, we have, I can only speak for Cherry Creek, of course, but our top underwriter has reached out and called the VA and said, hey, this is what's going on. This is a scenario. When you guys go to audit this file, what are we going to be up against? And we've worked through those problems with them. And so they don't just cut us off and say, nope, you don't fit the pretty little squared box that everybody should fit in. They Guild really does everything, and our underwriters do everything to get that veteran into a home.
When it comes to an internal group like Stand, what do you think that that does for the employees themselves, for the loan officers here? I mean, do you think it's not just the business resource groups, but groups like that where you're bringing in small communities together? How do you think that affects the loan officers within the company?
And just talking to her about what she does in her community and just collaborating, like, oh, well, have you thought about trying it this route? Or, hey, there's this opportunity in Florida with a different loan officer. There's this group. Have you guys talked about doing something like that? And so it's just a nationwide collaboration. Hey, this is what I'm doing in my community. What are you doing? Oh, okay. How does that work? What does this look like for you? How can we help one another grow? And so that's been really neat about the BRGs.
And the other piece to that is think of all the family members. So think of a family member who they themselves were not a veteran, but I know that my cousin or my uncle was, and he's struggling or they're struggling with this or that or need assistance with this. They know that there's this group that they can call and say, hey, I don't know anything about the military, but I have a problem. Can you help me find the solution? And I think that's really what Stand gives to those non-military that aren't looking for the community. I'm looking for a resource. So
Though I feel like sometimes when employees see the business, the resource groups, they're like, either I have to fit within one of those categories. I have to be a veteran, or I have to be Hispanic, or I have to be African American, or whatever it is. But sometimes these just exist just for the support, just for putting resources in front of you, giving you the tools that you need in whatever that means. So
exactly.
fantastic.
Yes.
All right, so people are going to watch this, strangers on the internet.
Yes.
How can we ask them, what is the call to action for them to support? What do you tell somebody if they're like, all right, I don't know where to put my money, I don't know where to put my time, I want to support, I want to help? What do you say?
Reach out to your local nonprofit, Nation of Patriots chapter, or any better chapter. It doesn't any better nonprofit, but I'm always going to advocate for Nation of Patriots. But reach out and just ask questions like, hey, what is it you guys need help with? Do you need help doing a cookie sale, a fundraiser, or hey, I got to write money out for my taxes? What do I have to do? And stuff. And if you don't know who to contact, just reach out to me. I'm happy to connect with you.
And in each community, honestly, I think that if they would reach out to their Chamber of Commerce, those people are in contact with those that are in the veteran community, and they would be able to tell them who to start with and then go from there, because there's so many different things. You may not like cooking, but maybe you like sewing or gardening. And I would love to put plants together and just be able to take those to the VA hospital, whatever it might be. But I would start with the Chamber of Commerce to find out who the top person and for the nonprofits in that town are.
All right, well, final question. This one's a biggie. So,
Okay.
in mortgage real estate terms, we talk about, generational wealth and wealth building. But as people, we talk about leaving a legacy. So, if you had to put it into words, what do you think the legacy is that you hope to leave behind through your work? And what do you hope people remember about what you do?
I think I want people, if we had to write it today, I want people to know that we are here to help educate and guide you to whatever the wealth for you means. If that's home ownership, if it's having 100 homes as rental properties, whatever that may be, we want you to know that Guild and Team Wrangle really support that, and we have those resources. So anybody that knows us in our community is a resource for them to call.
So on my part, what I would add to that is just knowing that we were there to provide and educate. Any questions you had, we were the ones that were willing to support and assist. And so as we grow through life with Guild as educators, that's what I would say our legacy would be.
You so much for talking with me for a little bit. I know you're off in the world opening offices and getting
That's right.
branches out there and meeting people and shaking babies and kissing hands and doing all the things. Yeah, send me the resources, send me the links. I definitely want to brag about you guys, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being
Thank
on.
you, Laura, for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.